What's up, YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I'm going to do a review of one of my favorite knives, one that I've gotten in the past year, the Spyderco FRN Chaparral. And on the wrist today, I had to match the gray theme with this SRPC 23J models Seiko Turtle. Sorry, this is on the Uncle Seiko Oyster bracelet. Phenomenal bracelet, phenomenal watch. You can see right here where I have totally scuffed up the case trying to get the bezel off, because I am not a modder, and yet I wanted to pop the bezel off to see if I could get the action improved. But that is a story for another day when I do the review of that awesome turtle. Today we are talking about this guy. This is an awesome knife, the Spyderco Chaparral. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is the FRN version of the Chaparral. It's a knife that has been available for a while, but then they decided to do it with the FRN scales to really reduce the weight. This is a really interesting knife and has become pretty much my daily carry. But before we get into that, I will do size comparisons. So in the Spyderco line, we have obviously the Delica, which I think a lot of people compare these to. And then we have the Para 3 lightweight. Let me see if I can get all these on together. So this is the Para 3 lightweight. This is also a really awesome knife, one that I got recently. I can't wait to do a review on it, but I want to carry a little bit more. So a lot of people will compare these two. Obviously, just from a design, aesthetic standpoint, I would say the Delica and the Para 3 are more similar. But the Chaparral and the Para 3 actually do share quite a bit of similarities when it comes to kind of the ergonomics here. You have this finger choil up here on both, and if you flip them over, they both share the same pocket clip style, which I think this is probably my favorite pocket clip of any pocket knife out there. So these two have become pretty regular carries for me because of the deep carry clip. And a few other things I'll talk about. But this is a pretty good comparison as well. I'd say these two are fairly similar. You're just getting a little bit longer blade here and a longer handle. So other knives to compare it to, since I do this with everyone, because this is one of my favorite knives. This is the Ontario Rat 2, and this is the Kershaw Skyline. So not really a whole lot of similarity there, but there you go. Okay, so what do I love about this knife? I mean, the thing that everyone loves about this is how lightweight it is. This is like, I want to say like less than 3 ounces, I can't remember, 2.5, 2.4, something like that. If I'm crazy about that, apologies, but I keep forgetting my scale when I come out here. But this is a very, very, very lightweight knife, and it's a very thin knife. So if you put this up to the Delica, you can kind of see, not like that, you can't. You can kind of see how thin it is. So from the scales and the blade, everything is just way thin. If you compare this to the Para 3 lightweight, I mean, it's just no comparison. It's super, super, super skinny, which has pluses and minuses, and I'll talk about the minuses in a few minutes. But it's a really cool scale, I think. Spyderco, everyone's kind of used to this scale when it comes to the FRN. So I thought it was really cool that they do something a little bit different. I don't know what you'd call this. It's not really honeycomb pattern, but it's just different. It's cool. I think it's really cool for them to try something else. I actually really like this compared to the kind of, I don't know what you'd call this, like spider web type pattern. I know that there's I think they call it like a bidirectional something. If you can't tell, I'm not great with the official terms, but I really like this. It's very grippy, almost too grippy. It's a little rough, but I think that's good, especially for a knife this small, because you really want to make sure that you have a good handle on it. And so I really, really do like that. Very cool scales. The blade shape is perfect, right? So this is kind of a leaf style blade. Let me wipe it off for you. Full flat grind, which has just become my favorite thing on Spyderco's. Just fantastic. Easy slicer. I cut open food with this all the time. I use this in the kitchen quite a bit, and just takes care of daily tasks. There's nothing that this thing can't cut, and that's really honestly the biggest thing going for Spyderco, and it's the reason that pretty much every day there's a Spyderco in my pocket, and it's hard to get another pocket knife in there because they're just so easy for cutting, which is like exactly what you need a knife, right? So I love that about it. I love the blade shape. I love the handles. I love the finger choil. Honestly, I've had a hard time adjusting. I tend to grab the knife back here by default, and I've had a hard time choking up on it to grab the finger choil, but that's my fault. I think as I kind of get over my familiarity with the Delica, where I wasn't choking up like this, and you know, become more familiar with the finger choil up here, that's going to be a really nice thing. It's the perfect amount of jimping up here and at the bottom. It's not enough that it hurts your hand, but it does give you tremendous traction, which is really nice. So I love that. I already said I love the pocket clip. I mean, there's just not a better pocket clip that I've encountered. I'm sure they're out there, but on these budget Spydercos, it's just, they're the best. I mean, they slide in easy, they carry really deep. There's something about having two contact points on a wire clip like this that is just better than if this was full sheet metal. I really believe that when you compare it to something like this, even if this was a deep carry clip, I still believe this would be superior. There's just something about having actual two contact points that just helps it stay in the pocket better. I've had the spoon clip come off very easily to where it's gotten clipped on something as I'm walking by, and it's come out of my pocket without me even realizing it. With this clip right here, nothing like that's ever happened. It just seems much more secure. So I really like that. I obviously really like the lockback, although this one I think has some drawbacks that I'll talk about in a few minutes. But overall, all of those things kind of build to the main thing I like about the Chaparral, and that is it's just so compact. One of the reasons that it gets so much pocket time is that, you know, I have a wallet, I carry a phone, I carry keys, I carry chapstick, and I carry who knows what else. Those are just the regular things, and so my pockets are always fairly full. And so this guy is just so hard to beat when it comes to something that's just going to disappear in the pocket, but it's still going to be incredibly useful. It's made carrying the Delica pretty difficult because if you look at the size of these, and especially the width, you know, the Delica is an amazing knife. It really is. But when you look at, I can get the same amount of blade with, you know, that profile, and especially when you take into consider the width there and the deep carry clip, it's just really, really hard to pass up. Same with the Para 3. Para 3 is an amazing knife. It's a great knife. It has a longer blade and a bigger handle, and there are definitely times when that comes in handy. But if I'm just going around town, like, this is what I'm gonna go with, because look at how much room that saves in the pocket. I do wish that it had a lanyard hole, but that's just me being an EDC nerd. It doesn't really need one. So that's what I love about it. It's just so compact. You know, Spyderco has just achieved something incredible here, which is just an amazingly efficient use of space, and I think they're to be commended for that. It's really cool to study this knife and just see how they fit all of this knife, all of this blade into this, which is just really cool. All right, so drawbacks to the knife. All right, so I'll just stay where I am, right? So the efficiency and kind of getting all of that knife into this little package comes with some drawbacks, right? So one is it's not as comfortable to hold. It is very, very thin. The handle is very thin, and it's going to feel like that. Now, I don't mind that because I kind of know what I'm getting into, but something like the Para 3 or the Delica is definitely going to be more comfortable to cut over the long run. If I'm going to be in the kitchen for a while, and I tend to pull my knife out and cut with that because I keep those sharper than my kitchen knives anyway, I'm going to want something like the Para 3, just something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to hold, longer blade. But just for EDC tasks, you know, that doesn't really bother me. Other drawbacks. So the steel has been amazing. I'm not really a steel expert. This is, you can see CTS XHP. I don't really know a ton about it, except for it's supposed to be a good steel. But one of the things I have noticed is if you look right there on the blade, those are what I assume to be rust spots, and those popped up pretty early on. I did an Appalachian trail hike, and was cutting open oranges and, granola bars and all kind of stuff for maybe like 3 days. And this was right after I got this knife. And I very soon noticed this building up right here. Now I haven't really tried to get it off, but nothing that I immediately tried, oil, anything like that, was taking it off, which, I'm complaining that my knife is getting dirty, essentially, not a big deal, but it's just something I noticed with this steel. It does tend to pick up a little bit more, kind of spots than like VG10 or some of the other steels that I've dealt with. Not a huge issue, but just something that I noticed. Other drawbacks, this lock bar. So I really like lock bars. I think that they are, especially the way Spyderco does it, they're very, I trust them, right? The problem with this one though, it's a little bit thin and it's a little bit, it's a little bit sharp. So Spyderco, from what I've seen, one of their tendencies is to kind of leave edges too sharp. For example, when I got the Delica, I had to go in and round the edges on the interior of the Spidey hole here. But what I did not have to do on the Delica was do anything to their lock bar. The Delica lock bar was perfect. It's big enough to where, it's easy to press. It has enough give in it. And while the Delica did come fairly stiff out of the box, it has loosened up over time. The same cannot be said for the Chaparral. It feels the same as it did when I first got it, which I guess is good in one sense that it's holding up, but it has not loosened up at all. There's a point right there as you're kind of disengaging the lock that's just very tight. And so you have to really mash down on that lock bar in order to release it. You can see I'm mashing down and shaking it, and it's released there. My thumb is about killed. And so that's just one of the things I've noticed. Again, it's not a huge issue, but it kind of goes to that, efficiency. They're making good use of space. They're making a very thin lock bar here. And so one of the drawbacks is you have to put some pressure behind it. Again, if I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting, probably want something that's a little bit easier, but not a big deal. And let's see what else. The only other thing is it's a little small for my hand. So you do want to choke up. And then you can kind of get everything in your hand, but it's still going to feel a little bit small. So, I have all my hand on there, and pretty much the only thing exposed is the blade, which is, speaks to the fact that this knife is just so efficiently made that, I can get all 4 fingers on there and I just have the blade exposed. But you do just kind of feel like you're dwarfing the knife. Apart from that, it is a phenomenal knife. It's incredible. I mean, this thing is just everything that you would want in a daily carry knife, and it's definitely not going to be coming out of my pocket. Cutter carry, definitely going to be a carry. I carry this thing just about every day. I love it. Definitely going to stay in my pocket for the long term. I'm trying to see how the Para 3 lightweight is going to compete with it. So far, this guy's been taking up a lot of pocket time as well. And I think it's just because it's a little bit more comfortable. But if space is an issue, then I'm definitely going to the Chaparral. And I think it's just a really cool breakup, right, between what you expect to see in a Spyderco. Like, these look very similar, to just something a little bit different that feels like a Spyderco, familiar in that sense, but a little bit different. And sometimes that's a really good thing. So overall, I've been using this thing for probably 6-8 months. And I absolutely love it. It's a phenomenal knife. I would highly recommend it. For under $100, it's an absolute steal when you consider the steel. Great steel, keeps a really good edge, and just a great daily carry option. So hope this has been helpful for you. Go out and get yourselves a Spyderco Chaparral. I highly recommend it, and I'll see you next time.